Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, July 5th, 2015. I hope y'all had an awesome 4th of July weekend. I am going to start out this week's Y&R chat with a voicemail that I got from Beatrice early in the week. She said, Allie, there is just a flood of too many things going on with Y&R right now, and I so agree. I've never had trouble following Y&R, but there's a part of me that was so stressed out watching it all week because I'm trying so hard to put all of these puzzle pieces together, and there's just so many loose ends everywhere. I mean, there's the main storylines, but then I'm struggling to try to find how the side storylines are gonna fit in. You know, what about Jack's living will? What about that paternity test? I mean, there's just so many other little things. The Scooby-Doo gang on the side is slowly starting to put together the pieces that it was actually pretty much that there are two Jacks, and I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what the end goal is, and I need to stop doing that. I have to train myself to watch Y&R next week in a little bit more of a relaxed mode, because what did I say? It's been 8 years of doing Y&R chat. I do usually sit down beforehand and kind of sketch out how I think the different storylines connect together. I mean, you may notice that I sort of talk about things chronologically, and I try to talk about storylines that are related next to each other, and I'm having so much trouble getting my thoughts together on this one. It's just everywhere. It is entertaining. I will certainly give it that. But I mean, does anybody else feel like that way? It's just so much. I'm gonna do my best to just start at the beginning and we'll just work our way through the story for this week. On Monday's show, we first got the follow-up in the park of Victor shooting Jack, which again was it's unbelievable. It was fast. I couldn't believe how quickly Victor just whipped out that gun without a second thought, without even a look of remorse or anything on his face. In fact, the entire week, Victor has just been sort of slowly meandering around Genoa City with a very blank expression on his face, completely callous, as if he didn't just shoot a man. And in fact, he's defending himself all week, and people are kind of judging him all week, and he has said multiple times, and people have said about him multiple times, Victor Newman is a lot of things, but he is not someone who is just going to shoot a man in cold blood. And I would have possibly agreed with that before this week, but the fact that he was so stone-faced, and I suppose it's because he perceived a threat not from Jack Abbott, but from Marco, this twin that he unleashed. He opened this Pandora's box. Maybe from Victor's perspective, he's just satisfied to go ahead and close it, but the look on Victor's face all week has been stone. The look on Jack's face when he got shot was enough to tell me that it was the real Jack Abbott. There was a little bit of a question for a moment at the beginning of the week. Who did Victor shoot? When did the switch happen? And the look that Peter Bergman gave as the bullet was going in was just pure shock. I don't think Marco even could have been that good of an actor. And again, just taking back a moment, I do think Peter Bergman, I think probably now that this twin thing is over, want to make sure to say, I think Peter Bergman did a great job. He's obviously an amazing actor, and I did enjoy watching him stretch his acting chops a little bit and see a different version of Jack, even if I think the writing was a little bit off the wall. So it was certainly clear to me at that moment that Victor had actually shot the real Jack. The real Jack goes down on the ground. Adam just so happens to be off in the corner witnessing this whole thing. He sort of rolls in, almost like a stroll. I mean, he might as well just have had his hands in his pockets. It was so obvious that it was a setup by the fact that he just showed up there, and I would imagine that Victor would have to see that. It was a matter of maybe 3-4 seconds between Adam realizing that a man shot, and then he immediately launches into his blackmail speech saying, oh, well, you shot Jack. If you really want me to not say anything, you're just going to hand over Newman Enterprises to me sight unseen. Which the fact that Victor initially agreed to it is also shocking for me. It's insane that even in that moment that Victor would acquiesce, that he would hand over everything he's been working his entire life for to who he thinks is Gabriel. I think part of my struggle too is I keep thinking that Victor knows something more than the audience knows, and that there's going to be some kind of twist, like he's working with the cops, or he's aware of what Marco and Gabriel are planning, or that he's aware that Adam is Adam. I just don't know. Victor agrees to just hand over Newman Enterprises. That blew my mind. He strolls away, and Adam is like ready to bounce. He's like talking over to Jack's dead body, or not dead body, but the quote unquote dead body of Marco. He's like, all right, we did it. Let's go. He's ready to get the heck out of Dodge, and he realizes that Jack is not, or Marco is not, responding. So he goes over to the body and he sees blood. He realizes that not only is Jack bleeding, but there's no bulletproof vest. So what's up with that? He immediately puts together the pieces that this is the real Jack. I don't know quite how he made that leap, but he realizes, oh, this must not be the imposter. And as soon as, or maybe I guess it was at that moment, the real fake Jack enters. I mean, he goes, fake Jack comes into the scene, Marco comes into the scene and is like, so, what's up? What's going on? Sorry, I got held up a little bit. I mean, I know I've been laying the groundwork for this elaborate plan to blackmail or to set up Victor and then shoot off to the Caribbean for months and months with a bunch of money, and this was the complete culmination of my work, but I got held up. Sorry, I'm a little late. Whatever. He shows up, and I guess that's when Adam realizes that, oh, oops, the wrong man got shot. Marco doesn't really care. He's ready to go. He leaves the scene and ends up going off to get his woman. He realizes that Marissa is in town. He shows up at her hotel room, and they have a really great kind of final scene, I suppose it was. I mean, we're seeing these two people who love and hate each other at the same time. Marissa certainly loves and hates Marco, and Marco both loves yet feels betrayed by Marissa, realizing that she had chosen Jack. She had chosen to help Jack over helping him, and Marco tried to have her killed back on the island. So Marissa certainly had to kind of know to beware of him, but it was interesting to try to figure out at what level are these two people trying to play each other. Are they really in love, or is there any chance they're gonna get together at the end of this, or are they both just playing each other? I loved Peter Bergman in that scene. I thought it was really interesting. He sort of this is his first face-to-face with Marissa, Marco's first face-to-face with Marissa. And all of a sudden, Marco becomes so much more Spanish. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but for the most part, Marco has not let his Spanish slip. And then all of a sudden, when he's having this final confrontation in the hotel room with Marissa, he's giving it to that Spanish flair. you know, that was funny, and again, very entertaining. So these two people are trying to one-up each other. Marissa's certainly trying to use her sexuality against him, and they end up agreeing to go off together, I suppose agreeing in air quotes, to go off together and run away, and now he's got all this money and he's gonna steal her away, but they go to get in the car. And I knew immediately, as soon as I ever see a scene with two characters in a car, there will be a car wreck or there will be some kind of problem with the car. It's never ever good in a car. But we see Marco and Marissa headed toward the airport until Marissa realizes, oh, wait a minute, I know I've never been in this town before, but this doesn't seem to be the way to the airport. And she begins to have the full realization that she is just a liability to this man. She wants to love him, she wants to trust him, but she knows she's dead meat. So she begins to kind of unfold to him and reveal that she knows that, and in a last-ditch effort to save her own life, she grabs the wheel, and of course they skew off the road and into a car crash. Now back at the hospital, Phyllis is, this just absolutely kills me. Phyllis is in the hospital realizing that her sister has just been brutally raped. She walks out into the hall and sees her husband being wheeled in on a stretcher. Hey Phyllis, how's your life? I can't even believe how, I mean, frankly, hey YNR, how's your soap opera? That was so brutal. I mean, it was literally from Phyllis's point of view. Oh my God, my sister was brutally raped. Turn slightly to the left. My husband is bloody and being wheeled in on a stretcher having been shot. It was insane. I felt so bad I really did feel bad for Phyllis throughout this entire week, and I have enjoyed the actress. I think she's been fierce. She's had a lot of chance to shine and show her Phyllisness. I mean, she's been up in pretty much everyone's face, and not only in a fierce way, but in a loving way toward Jack. She had that connecting moment with him at the house prior to any of this happening, despite the fact that Jack's been acting funny for the last couple of months. She is there for him. She's supportive of him. She wants to lash out and absolutely attack anybody who is associated with whatever happened to her husband, which is understandable. By the way, what the heck was I just gonna say? Oh, well, I don't remember. Shoot. I thought of something and then I sidetracked off of it. It was something about, I was thinking, okay, so Phyllis is having this reaction to Avery being raped, to Jack getting shot. What is Phyllis gonna feel when she realized that she's been basically being raped too? How come YNR sweep that under the rug? I mean, Phyllis is gonna have to have some feelings about knowing that she was sleeping with an imposter. I kind of am thinking YNR just will not address that, but I didn't want to forget to mention it because it's also horrible. One thing too that I think will come into play a little bit later, and it's just a seed, but Phyllis is in the hospital, obviously hovering over Jack, talking to him. I mean, for crying out loud, she was in a coma. Jack's in a coma. Sorry if I forgot to mention that. He's lived, he went into surgery, he survived, of course, but he's in a coma. So Phyllis is over his body and she's trying to talk to him, and she happens to notice that he's not wearing his wedding ring. The nurse brings in all of his belongings. She goes through the bag, realizes that the ring is not there. So I think what we're gonna see just as a little bow tie on this part of the storyline is the full realization that there was a twin switch when they end up finding Marco's body. I'm sure he's gonna end up wearing the ring. If they end up finding Marco's body, because there's also a part of me that thinks, I wonder if this is YNR's way of making us think Marco's dead, but then leaving it open just in case they want to bring him back in the future. Of course, I'm sure they could do that any way you slice it. So, but I think that little piece is going to play a role. Jack has been in and out of consciousness just a little bit, but he's not fully recovered. He clearly knows what happened to him. He remembers being in the park, but he's not able to really speak about it. But we know that he has changed his tune a little bit. Before going to the park, Jack was all about, I'm going to help Victor whether he likes it or not. I'm going to even the score. And then Phyllis is, who is sure as she's sure of anything that Victor is the one who shot her husband. She is telling Jack, we are going to get revenge on Victor. Don't think that for a moment that he's going to get away with this. And we hear this voiceover scene of Jack in his coma, and he's telling Phyllis, I love you, I feel this connection with you, and I want you to know that we are going to get Victor for this. So certainly we're getting this feeling that as soon as Jack wakes up, he is going to want to pursue revenge against Victor, of course. But I don't know, it seems like every time Victor's name is mentioned or Victor has shown up at the hospital, Jack's had this visceral reaction. At the very end of Friday's show, Jack starts to, I don't know, he wasn't really convulsing, but the beeps and the bloops were going off in the hospital room, and it was his blood pressure or something, his heart rate or whatever is dropping, and there the end of the sequence for the week was that Jack's health is in dire situation, which we know is certainly not going to, he's not going to die. We know real Jack is not going to die, but again, another one of those little things that's been driving me crazy to put together this whole week is the fact that a doctor came in to talk to Phyllis after the surgery, sort of midweek, and said to her, okay, your husband's in a coma. We don't know if he's going to come out of a coma. We've done all that we can do, and we're not sure how much longer we're just going to wait. So do you know if your husband happens to have a living will or some kind of directive to indicate what he would like done, with his health? And that just keeps ringing in my ears because we know that Marco went and had his will redone. So I'm kind of thinking that's going to come into play. It's another one of those little, there's a million different seeds that could be followed, and I don't know what to look at, but I can't help wondering if we're going to now see Jack in a coma and the doctors coming in or somebody coming in with Jack's will and saying he didn't want to be kept on life support, so we're gonna have to pull the plugs. I kind of wonder if we're gonna get something like that. Also, I can't help but forget on a similar note that Ashley had her will redone, and I'm not going to talk about it too in depth, but Ashley did have another mild episode this week. Her head's hurting and Stitch is there to support her and blah, blah. They saw the fireworks together. It's hard to focus when there's so many other things going on, but I wonder if there's any chance that Ashley's will is going to come into play. Are Ashley and Jack going to be in dual comas, and then maybe due to the changing of the wills, somebody else is going to inherit Jabot? I don't know. My head is ready to explode like a firework. If Victor were just a bad guy, it would be one thing, but he's constantly dragging everyone else around him into whatever mess it is that he's created. He's constantly talking about how his family is more important to him than anything, yet he is perpetually bringing them into whatever it is that he has messed up on. And this week, all of the Newmans are in the middle of the who shot Jack Abbott mystery, which we as the audience know darn well that it was Victor. Phyllis suspects that it's Victor. Paul suspects that it's Victor. I mean, for crying out loud, Nikki suspects that it's Victor. I mean, all signs are pointing to Victor. All it has become is a loyalty test for Victor's family members, and it's really it's frustrating, it's disgusting, rather than just being upfront about what happened right from the beginning. Victor lies about it. I mean, he doesn't tell anyone the truth except for Victoria. Of all of the people in his family, Victoria is the one that he trusts the most. Victoria is the one that he knows will go ahead and do his bidding. So after shooting Jack, he has a conversation with Victoria where he pretty much admits it. I mean, for the most part, Victor has admitted to her that he shot Jack. He's admitted everything about the shooting Jack. Nothing about the twin twist. He's told absolutely nobody that Marco is out there because Victor thinks he shot Marco. So Victor tells Victoria as much as he needs her to know to do what he wants her to do, but he doesn't tell her the whole truth. And I felt so just bad for Victoria being put in this situation. And she does give Victor an alibi. She lies for him. He tells her that, the whole truth, and when questioned by the police, she says, no, he couldn't have done it. He was with me. And I have a hard time being too mad at her or judging her too much, mostly because I know that she's a product of his environment. I think Victoria is very much doing what she was born and bred to do, and she certainly did not choose to do the right thing. And I mean, yes, of course we could judge her for that. I suppose that was a poor choice of words, but I guess I understand both sides of what's going through Victoria's mind right now. But it's disgusting that Victor would put her in this situation. It's almost not on Victoria as much as it is on Victor. As a parent, would you ever do that to your child? Would you ever ask your child to lie like that for you, to put their entire life on the line, their entire family on the line, to lie for you when you damn well did it? I don't think that's love, and it's hard to even forgive Victor or understand what the hell is going on in his head right now. Everything for him is just a big loyalty test, and well, hooray for you, Victoria. You passed the loyalty test. Much to my surprise, it was Nikki who was the betrayer. Oh, I thought that was a very good twist. Nikki knows that Victor was at the park with Jack. She knows that Victor is the one who has the motive to do it, and furthermore, she knows her husband. She knows that he certainly was mad enough at Jack to do something like that. So Nikki was really, really in a bad position this week. Victoria doesn't really think twice about who she's gonna protect. Nikki is trying so hard to stay sober. She is trying so hard to do the right thing. She has identified Victor as a toxic element in her life, and she doesn't want to go down that road once again. So Nikki, although her initial instinct is to cover up for Victor, she sees Victoria lying for Victor. She's right there when Victoria is giving him an alibi, and she says, you know what? I have had enough of this. I can't do this anymore. She certainly doesn't want to tell the truth and hurt Victoria, because now Victoria is wrapped up in this whole mess. If Nikki tells the truth, Victoria is implicated in a lie that could be severe consequences for her. But I think Nikki just decided that it was time for somebody to do the right thing in this family. She tells Paul everything she knows, even if it means sending Victor to jail, even if it means busting up her family and her children never forgiving her. Nikki has drawn this line in the sand, and she's realized that this is an important part of her life and her sobriety, and it's better for everyone if the truth just comes out. And I think I really enjoyed Nikki's process through that, because I thought, well, maybe she's finally realizing after 30 plus years of being married to Victor, having his children, knowing this man, maybe she's realizing finally that she needs to be a better example. She needs to step up and be the one to not always cover for Victor and to not always make excuses for him. Maybe she needs to show her kids that doing the right thing has value. and that it's that Victor's way of looking at things is not always the right way of looking at things. Nick gets that. I mean, you do have, for as much as we rip on Nick gets that. Nick stepped away from all that mess, all that drama that comes with Newman Enterprises and being Victor's employee / child, which the child part comes last. It's way down on the list of things. Nick deserves some credit for stepping away from that years ago when he's bought Crimson Lights, and that's been a long time. So I gotta give him a little bit of props. Victoria's still caught up in that whole mess, and that's what Nick's life would look like if he had followed along that same path. That's what Nikki's life is, what it would look like. I mean, the two women in his life that he should be protecting above everyone, he just ends up dragging them in. And I was proud of Nikki for coming forward and saying the truth. Sure, it put Victoria in quite a pickle, but she ended up getting out of that. It's so, which is not even realistic, that Paul wouldn't have just arrested everybody in that situation. Victoria lied. She lied. She should have gone to jail. And I'm glad she didn't, because I think that would have been disastrous for her family. And by the way, really great scene between Victoria and Billy at the coffee house, where Billy comes clean with Victoria and says, you know what? I can't do this anymore. We did set Victor up for the whole embezzlement thing. I'm telling you the truth. Can you tell me the truth? And Victoria wouldn't do it. I mean, Billy even had such an amazing argument to her, like, you know, I understand that you're trying to protect your father, but what about your family? What about your children? In that moment when Victoria chose to lie for Victor, she chose Victor over her own children. That's so bad. That is so bad. And I don't think Victoria thought of it that way. I don't think it was until Billy brought that up that it kind of dawned on her that that's exactly what she was doing. And that's when we saw the first cracks in that facade, or self-doubting. But it didn't change anything. Victoria was ready to stick to the lie until Nikki busted the whole thing up. There was a scene after Nikki told the truth about what she knew, where Paul was able to obtain a search warrant, look around in Victor's house, look around in Victor's office. He ends up finding a gun in the safe, which I knew immediately was not the same gun. It didn't look the same. Victor pulled out a silver gun. The one in the safe didn't look at all like the same gun. So I don't know if that's just a red herring, the fact that he found a different gun, or just a way to, I don't know if that was just a way to kind of prolong the storyline. I don't know where the real gun is, but it seemed like for a real brief period, there was no real way to connect Victor to what had actually happened until Marissa enters back into the scene. Now, Marissa has told us, the audience, that Marco has drowned at the bottom of the lake. And I guess the car went into a lake and he drowned, presumably to never return. And she, I think, is deciding to go ahead and carry out what she thinks Jack's wishes would have been. She developed a bond with Jack during that time, and I think she wants to see through with what his wishes would have been, and which, by the way, is also giving her a reason to stay in Genoa City. She shows up at the underground, where Noah is awaiting with open arms to help her, give her a place to stay, give her some hot coffee. She's cold and wet and shivering, and I love that, by the way. I'm in 100% Noah and Marissa. Oh yes. I mean, we know Noah likes Spanish ladies. Remember when he was involved with Adriana and she was sort of doing this, I can't remember what criminal thing she was doing, but Noah kind of likes that spicy Latin flair. I'm just holding out hope of hopes that if there's any way Marissa could be related to Alex, bring back my sex fox, please. Oh, YNR, I would love you forever if you did that. I love you forever anyway. But Marissa is totally incorporating herself into Genoa City now. I love that following through with Jack's wishes is giving her a chance to stay. Noah got her a hotel room at the Athletic Club, the swankiest hotel in town. So she's like fully incorporated. Before we know it, she will be wearing Chelsea by Jabot fashion, and she will just be strutting her stuff, and I will be loving it. But Marissa is the one who gives Adam the push that he needs to come forward. Adam is perfectly well content to just go ahead and, reap the benefits of the blackmail. Victor named him CEO of the company until Marissa is the one who, decides to come up and press him and say, oh, I know who you are. You're not Gabriel. You're Adam Newman. In fact, she goes over to his condo and gets up in his face about it. First, she made a sneaky phone call, which I loved. I like that she's a little spicy. She's a little conniving, and I think she can hold her own with these guys. So I like that. I like that she kind of one-upped Adam a little bit and said, look, you're either going to go to the police and tell them everything that you know about what happened between Victor and Jack, or I'm going to. And that's, in fact, what Adam ended up doing. By the way, I don't know why it is that Gabriel is not a suspect in all of this. The finger is clearly pointed at Victor for any number of reasons. I mean, for crying out loud, Jack pointed at him. So Victor's been fingered by more than one person at this point. But why, Gabe was at the scene. Who believes he just happened to be walking around in the park? Not the Abbotts. So it's shocking to me that Paul didn't really grill into him as a potential witness. It wasn't until I think Friday's show where Adam actually goes to the police and says, yes, I saw it. Victor shot Jack. And why were there no other repercussions for him? Why didn't he get arrested for not coming forward about the shooting right away? I don't know. I don't know what it is. But Gabriel / Adam's confession to Paul is what ends up leading to Victor's arrest. If there's an eyewitness to the crime, there's no way out of it. So Victor gets arrested. They haul him down to the police station, which, by the way, was for the second time this week. Paul talks to him and tries to get him to confess. It's absolutely no problem at all. Victor's sitting there with his lawyer, who's like, that poor guy. He got cast just to say, you don't have to answer that question. Victor, as your lawyer, you don't have to answer that question. That was his whole gig for the week. Victor sits there and tells Paul basically the same story he told Victoria, which is the almost truth. Oh, it was in self-defense. I did shoot him. It was in self-defense. Doesn't say a word about the fact that he brought this whole thing on a la Marco. He just sits there, tells everyone everything. I don't know whether Victor has another trick up his sleeve. There is certainly still part of me that thinks he's got to know something else. Something else has got to be going on here. But either that or he's in, deep due. Either way, the ice was the only function that the lawyer had in the whole meeting was to get Victor out on bail, because people who are, who confess to attempted murder, they just get out on bail. I don't have too much else to say about Avery's rape. What the heck happened? I don't know. It's been so emotional. In fact, I tend to watch all of my YNRs at one time, and so there was a gap of time in between when I watched last Friday's YNR and Monday's, the first episode of this week, and I kind of forgot that Avery had been raped. Like, I put it out of my mind because it's so unpleasant to think about. And as soon as I picked up YNR, the first episode on Monday, it was there, and I was shocked all over again that it happened. It's just shocking to me. I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to get over this. I don't know how YNR is going to resolve this. I really don't know if it was Joe or if it was someone else. I am so completely I can't even wager a guess on it. The only thing that I really have to say is about Dylan's reaction. Whoa! I mean, Joe, I don't know whether he did it or not. I don't know. But Dylan, all he knows how to do is brute force, go around the law. I could not believe that Dylan showed up at Joe's hotel room. I mean, yes, obviously, if Joe did it, I want him to pay. Dylan wants him to pay. Avery wants him to pay. But not the way to go about it. He shows up at the hotel room and he takes Joe out. He punches him right in his face. When Joe comes to, the man is tied to a chair, interrogation style, with a phone cord. Whoa. I assume it was a phone cord. Maybe they don't even have phone cords anymore. I don't know. It was scary. Like, I couldn't believe how shocking and dark that was. And Dylan's just on this like PTSD flashback, head trip. I don't know. It was dark. I mean, Dylan's like one of these characters that how is that a whole lot different from Victor? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I understand that Dylan has good intentions and he wants the best for the people that he loved, but knocking Joe out and tying him to a chair and basically beating him and interrogating him is it's just wrong. That's just wrong. And then Avery shows up at the door, which why would she even go there? Why would she go there? She shows up at the door, and presumably she was going to confront Joe on some level, but she sees that Dylan's there. She sees what Dylan has done. I think it was almost equally as shocking to her that that's what Dylan had done. I mean, if I were Joe, I would so totally press charges against Dylan, but I think he saw Avery for the first time, looked in her eyes, realized, I think seeing what had happened to her, that she'd been raped and she had cuts and bruises all over her. I think seeing this woman that he really cares about, whether he did it or not, that, it sparked something in him, and he chose to continue along with his story that he didn't do it and to not press charges against Dylan for what was being done to him. And in fact, Avery sees what Dylan is doing, and she tells him, you need to let Joe go. This has to stop. Let him go. And the sense I got from Avery was maybe that was the first time she was questioning herself. She didn't see the man who raped her. She has this incredibly strong instinct that it was Joe, but maybe, it's almost like maybe it's gotten in her head, maybe because she was so spooked by Joe thinking he was stalking her, maybe that created an association in her mind, and she just thinks that Joe was the one, and it really wasn't. And if that's the case, I don't know if if whoever raped her was someone that Joe was affiliated with or a completely random third party. That seems hard to believe. But she sees him. She tells Dylan to let him go. I did a rape kit. It'll all come out, and I assume it will. And as soon as Dylan and Avery leave, although Joe promises not to call the cops, he goes for his phone, which, I mean, if he didn't do it, he's been accused of stalking her and accused of raping her. Dylan held him hostage, tied him to a chair, and beat him. If he didn't do it, that is like, I'd be on the phone to the police so fast. But then he just realized, I think, that this is something that's just going to cause Avery more pain, and he decided not to go through with it. Wow, I don't know. You guys, we'll have to continue to see how this one develops. I think there's a lot of feelings on all sides. But I mean, on this one, I don't really have a theory. Last week, I put a poll up at yrchat.com and asked you guys what you think about Sharon's pregnancy. Is she like straight up pregnant, legit, or is there still a twist? I think maybe I'll leave that poll up for one more week to see what you guys think, because I've got a lot of differing opinions on that topic. Some people think Sharon is just not pregnant at all. This is just a manipulation. Some people think she's pregnant and is going to lose the child and maybe try to do a baby switcheroo with Sage. Ugh. And still there are some people who just think she's she just is pregnant. Yes, maybe it's a fast-moving storyline, but she is pregnant. Gosh, again, I don't know what to predict with this one. This week we saw a scene. This annoys me. This really annoys me. Of Sharon at the coffee house thinking, I think she might have even been doing an internet search about medication and pregnancy. I can't remember at this point, but it was clear that the question on Sharon's mind is, can I continue to take my medications for bipolar disorder while I'm pregnant? And in the end, her decision is no. We see her take her bottle of pills, open up the cap, and dump them all straight into the trash. Why? Why would you, Sharon, not even talk to your doctor? You just decided? You just decided to go off your medication and dump them all in the trash. That's got to be an indication that something crazy is about to happen. Sharon being off her meds is those riders' way of saying, put on your seatbelt, because we're about to go on a Sharon crazy roller coaster yet again. Again, about the question of whether she is actually pregnant, would she have thrown away the pills if she wasn't pregnant? Like, the action that she took, dumping out the pills, to me almost says she is pregnant and she's going to dump them out because she's genuinely concerned about the baby. But then I just think it's way too big of a coincidence that Sage is pregnant right now too. You guys tell me what you think about this topic. You can still go, I'll leave up the poll at yrchat.com if you want to do a quick poll there and see the results. But there's just something in my mind that says, I think Sharon might end up losing her baby and she's off her meds. So I'm afraid she's going to do something to Sage's baby or to Sage. Okay, let's read some comments. TV Soap Fan on YouTube says, I don't think Joe raped Avery, but I do think Avery truly believes it with him because of all that happened. He did just recently try to blackmail her into sex. I think Joe hired somebody to spook Avery and drive her crazy so that he could swoop in and play the hero, but then he freaked out but the freak he hired went rogue, took it too far, and raped her. Robbie left a voicemail and said, I feel bad saying this, but is there any chance that Avery's doing this to herself? Remember the deep, dark secret that Joe alluded to? Yeah, I had kind of forgotten about that, but that's still sort of rattling around in my head too. Like maybe Avery had some kind of pre-existing mental condition. I don't know how YNR is going to play this. Gary left a voicemail just to give you guys some, the whole broad spectrum of what people think about the Avery issue. Gary says maybe the surprise twist could be that Joe actually did rape Avery. I mean, we don't know. At this point, it just seems like such a big question mark up in the air. I do hope that YNR maybe gives us the results of the DNA or the rape kit soon. It's just because I want it to sort of be done. I don't want to go on about this. I don't want to talk about this every week. Speaking of things that have been worn out for me, Gary also mentioned in his voicemail that there's a little bit of a spoiler that Nikki's going to end up falling off the wagon again, which Gary says, given her redemption episode, maybe it's a twist, and maybe it's kind of a nice touch, not really expected. Okay, I guess. I'm tired of the Nikki drinking storyline. I'll try to go with you, Gary. I'll try to be open-minded to Nikki's next falling off of the wagon. It does drive me a little crazy because it's like, when is this gonna end? When is she gonna get better and get stable? But I feel like I'm constantly saying the same thing about Sharon and any other number of characters. I'm always saying, where are they gonna get stable? But then again, stable is not interesting. Stable is not entertaining. So we'll see how it pans out.
Connor left a voicemail, very, very poignant. And he says, there will have to come a point in Victoria's life where she stops lying for her father. She will have to put herself and her family first. I, for one, applaud Nikki for telling the truth. I do too. I really do too. And I think this is definitely going to be kind of a turning point for Victoria. And I liked that Billy was the one who pressed her on that. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, for crying out loud, Victoria stood by while Gabe, thinking that Gabe was blackmailing Victor. She doesn't know how to do anything except exactly what Victor wants her to do, and it's sad. I'd like to see Victoria grow up a little and put her own family first. Katie on Facebook says, I've seen a lot of things on Y&R, but I have never been so close to flipping over my coffee table than when I realized that Jack's confession about Adam was just another dream sequence. How dare Y&R tease us like that? If they insist on doing these stupid dream / thought sequences, can they please leave them out of the next on Y&R clips? I'm sure I am not the only one who would appreciate that. Oh no, Katie, you are not, because I didn't even mention it in the Y&R chat. That drove me nuts. What was that? It had been Tuesday's episode. Going into the next on Y&R, it's showing Jack waking up from the coma, saying, looking at Gabriel and saying, "You're not Gabriel, you're Adam Newman." And then Chelsea looking back at him with her mouth wide open, and I was ready for that. I was like, oh my gosh, this whole thing's gonna blow up all at once. Y&R is insane right now. I tell you, I was so excited for, I guess it would have been Wednesday's show. I thought that was gonna be the reveal of Adam's identity, only to turn out that it was a dream sequence. I was so ticked off. And I agree, they shouldn't do that. That's kind of a trick of these new writers that we've seen more than once. Do you remember when they did it with Kelly stabbing Phyllis? And I actually thought, oh my gosh, is Kelly actually gonna stab Phyllis? But no, it was a dream sequence. I think it's a dirty trick, Y&R. And by the way, somebody mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't get a chance to address it, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was, but somebody reminded me that we don't really even know what happened to Kelly. I mean, she ended up dead in the bed, but did Jack kill her, or was that just left open on purpose, or are we ever going to find out? Is Jack going to maybe talk to Phyllis about what happened with the Kelly thing? Surely that's going to have to come back around. But, I mean, I guess the obvious thing would be that he killed her, right? That's sort of scary to think about. Let's see. About Adam. You know me, I'm constantly complaining about the fact that Delia's murder has not been resolved, that we are still all these, we're still 2 years at this point almost down the road from Delia's murder. Nobody's been convicted. All signs point to Adam, but I've always felt from the very beginning that it was not Adam. So I'm constantly talking about, when are we going to get this murder resolved? And I will give credit to Noira M on YouTube that says, Ali, the Delia accident storyline was resolved. Adam did it. Sad but true. We need to accept it. Furthermore, even if he didn't, he thought that he did and covered it up. Remember Delia's scarf in the fire? So my mind is equally guilty whether he did it or did not do it. So I wanted to mention that because I thought it was a good reality check for me because I thought, well, you know what? Maybe there is no resolution coming down the road. Maybe it is just done. Maybe it is gone. Maybe Adam did do it. Maybe it will never be followed up on again. I don't know. It's certainly possible. Rocks Grace on YouTube said, hey, Allie, I really like Marissa. She is the one bright light in that terrible storyline. And we're getting mad props for Marissa this week. Bobby on Facebook also says, I just want to say that I like this Marissa character. I hope she stays. She is like Gloria on Modern Family without the humor. She's gorgeous, she's South American, she's smart, and she's sassy. I haven't seen Modern Family, but my mom always raves about how that's such a good show. I should watch it. But yeah, I love Marissa. So much potential. And let's see, one of the things I forgot to mention when we were talking about Adam too, is the fact that Marissa is kind of like sort of dating Noah now, and he took her to the fireworks in Genoa City, and they ran into Chelsea and Adam. So Marissa immediately knew who Chelsea was, loved her fashion designs, kind of wondering if a friendship is going to be developing there. Who knows, maybe Chelsea will give Marissa a job or something, and she'll be all up in Adam and Chelsea's lives, which I think is great because she's the one who holds the secret. She's the one that can just like, I mean, it's a ticking time bomb getting ready to explode. And so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that too, because I think that could be a fun element. Yeah, I like Marissa too. Okay. Linda Scott on YouTube says, I am very upset at the breakup of Michael and Lauren. The fact that Y&R writes their ending as if it's no big deal is infuriating. It has been a concentrated effort by Y&R to end Michael and Lauren quickly and quietly. They gave them 2 scenes on a Tuesday episode with at most 3 minutes of screen time this week to put the final nail in the coffin. This was a comment about last week's show, by the way. Just because Chuck Pratt and Jill Farron Phelps don't care about this couple doesn't mean that the audience doesn't. They think giving Michael 10 seconds worth of happy flashbacks covers 11 years of them as a couple. Pratt admitted that he does not like Lauren and Michael as a couple, and that is why they were raced to an ending. They have played their story once a week, if that, for the past 6 months. Their friends and family have been kept out of the story. This week, Lauren signed the divorce papers, and not one of the Y&R websites or Twitter accounts even mentioned it. It seemed clear that they want this to be a low-key breakup. Now I expect Lauren and Michael to be off-screen for a week, she was right, or 2 to make their divorce an even bigger afterthought. This couple deserved better. The actors deserved better. The fans of Likey deserved better. Ugh. Could not have said that better myself, because that's how I felt last week. I was like, whoa, Lauren and Michael got divorced and it was not the #1 front burner storyline on the show. What did I miss? So I love that comment, Linda. I mean, boom, passion, history. You were coming correct with that comment, and I couldn't agree more. Daisy on Facebook says, you also mentioned Lauren and Michael and about their divorce. I'm in denial. After Lauren signed the papers, I saw a look of regret in Michael's eyes. So I'm actually hoping, or really hoping, that he'll change his mind. After all, he would have to file the papers for divorce to be official, so there's still a chance. I hope so. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak, about the Chuck Pratt and, I don't know him. I don't keep as much on top of what goes on behind the scenes, but yeah, right? It doesn't seem right, and I'm kind of wondering if there's any chance. The last thing we saw was Michael kind of crying with the papers in the park. Is there any chance he's going to choose not to file them, or is Linda right and we're just kind of headed quietly toward their very sad divorce? Again, I'm so glad other people picked up on that, because I was just shocked that it happened, and I looked on like Facebook and Twitter and all that too, and I read all your comments, and it just seemed like nobody was even, it wasn't on anybody's radar, and it almost does kind of, I can understand where it does seem like there's just so much else going on, and maybe if they did want to end the couple, just kind of do it while a bunch of other stuff was going on, so we didn't notice it. I don't know. Maybe that's a conspiracy, but I feel that feels right to me. So I think I'll end with a zinger, because Y&R is so serious right now. January on Facebook says, what is it with Victor and pillows? Sheesh. Okay, you guys, that is the end of our Y&R chat for this week, but I will be back next week, and in the meantime, you can leave me your comments and let me know what you're thinking about the show. A couple different ways you can do that. You can go to yrchat.com. You can vote in that poll, by the way. You can leave a comment on any of the posts there for the week. This video will be there. You can leave a comment. You can also find the links to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. There's a billion different ways you can leave a text comment, or you can call in and leave a voicemail. The telephone number is 309-588-4569. I love hearing from you. You guys are awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the heck we are next week this time. Maybe we'll get an Adam identity reveal, or maybe they will just fake us out with another dream sequence. I don't know. Dirty tricks, what are dirty tricks? Okay, I love you guys. Everybody have a good week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.